Hello, my friends. Thank you for joining me today. Yesterday was Easter. I hope you had a great day, a relaxing day. If you don't know the character of God, you'll fall prey to circumstances that dictate your emotions. So instead, trust the one who oversees your circumstances. I read that quote in 2020 from Tony Evans, and it really sent me on a quest to find out who God is. And this is my God is journal, and today we're going to look into God is glory. And I thought to myself, how in the world am I going to show that? Well, we're going to do a bit of ink smooshing today. What is that? Well, let me show you. I have 3 distress inks. This is Festive Berries, Mustard Seed, and Dusty Concord. And you see this part of my mat right here. It's a place where I can just put some ink down. And I'm going to do that. Little dabs here and there of mustard seed and dabs of Festive Berries. They are beautiful colors together. And then I'm going to take my distress sprayer and I'm going to spray over the top of those. And then I have a piece of watercolor paper that's cut 5.5 by 4 1/4, and I'm going to smoosh it into my ink. And it leaves splotches. Actually, when it turns out, it's really beautiful. Doesn't look like much now, but it will. So you just continue to do that, to press it in the ink until you have what you like. Now, sometimes you need a little more water. Sometimes you need a little less water. I like the way this is turning out. I really do. And then you set it aside to dry. I'm going to do another one. I'm going to use a little bit more of the raspberry this time. A little less of the yellow. And maybe a little less of the water for smooshing. But you probably can't see it from here, but it's starting to bubble up. And that means that the ink is reacting to the water. And you'll notice that it really is kind of dry. Oh, I like this. Red is my favorite color, even though this isn't classified as red. And of course, when it mixes with yellow, it makes orange. But I like the way this turned out. Don't you? So now you can see the watercolor paper, and I'm putting it into my stamping tool here. I love this thing. It helps me keep things very straight. But I also, because I'm stamping on watercolor paper that has a little bit of a bite, I want the impression to be sharp. So I have a beautiful stamp set here from Simon Says Stamp. It's called Beautiful Butterflies. And if you've been following me at all, you know that I think there is nothing that really displays the glory of God more than his creation. And you know, he didn't do it for himself. He did it for our enjoyment. He created all of those beautiful things for us. And I just think each one of them is so special. So I am putting these down kind of in a random order, I think, the way I like them anyway, on this stamping machine. And I'm not going to use all of them. I'm using what? 5. And there it is. And then you put the lid down on it. And the stamps are ready to stamp. Now I am going to stamp them with black ink. I'm using a VersaFine black ink, and because I'm also going to put some embossing powder over the top of them to just give it a little bit of shine. Sometimes when you're working on a surface like the watercolor paper, you have to stamp it more than one time. And I'm applying a little bit of pressure, not a great deal, but a little bit. But you see, the impression needs to be increased. That's better. And you'll notice that I have my clear fine, clear, detail embossing powder over here, and I'm just going to put it over the top. And you can see it's kind of cloudy, but wait till you see at what it looks like after I emboss it. Okay, my friends, here is the finished focal image. Do you like it? I think it turned out really pretty with all those colors and with a little bit of embossing powder. Now I'm going to cut it down to 5 3 3/4 for my journal page. So we won't cut off much of the image, just a little bit. I always cut my paper a little bit bigger than what I need. Now I have my journal page. I'm using white this time, cut 5 1/2 by 4 1/4, and I've decided to use 2 layers. The first one is the black, and it is 5 3/8 and 4 1/8, and then I have a purple layer, and the purple layer is 5 1/4 by 4. So let me get those attached to each other. Now these are just 1/8 smaller than the one on bottom, and so it makes for a really narrow border. But I really like that effect on the journal pages, and also a lot of my cards I make in that way. Now, because this is a journal page to fit my journal, don't forget to punch your journal holes. I'm using the 3-ring clips, 3-inch rings for my journal, and there you have the journal page. Now, because this is watercolor paper, I will use either a whole lot of tape or I will use specialty double-sided tape. And this is the kind that I use. I got it on Amazon, and it is really good. And it holds. It's very good for materials like the watercolor paper that has a bite to it. You got to have that when you're dealing with a lot of water. But I want this to stay together, so I'm using it for my journal, for the focal image. I can be rest assured that it will stay together. There you go. And now I'll just use my trusty tool to get it off. And all of my pages are like this, so put it in here, and look, I've got to cut another hole to make sure that my focal image goes through. So there is my journal page that I feel shows the glory of God. In Psalm 19:1, David wrote, "The heavens proclaim the glory of God. The skies display his craftsmanship." And in Psalm 57:11, he said, "Be exalted, O God, above the highest heavens. May your glory shine over all the earth." When was the last time you looked at a sunset, or that you got up early enough to see a sunrise? The pinks, the golds, the purples, the reds. All you have to do is go to the local zoo to see the wonderful creatures that God created to show his glory. Who else could create such incredible things? My friends, God didn't do those things for himself. He made those creatures and performed those miracles for us, his greatest creation. Why? So we would see his glory, so we would thank him for all he's done for us, and so we would praise him and honor him. He alone deserves our honor and praise. Thank you for joining me today, my friends. I hope you'll join me for Friday when we follow up on God is Glory, and we'll make something new. Have a blessed week.